Hi, this is Kim with Lead Generation Source. This is actually a re-recording of the Wednesday webinar, and I decided after only a couple of people showed up, but they had some really good questions that I needed to kind of expand on some of the concepts. So I went ahead and decided to just re-record this instead of doing the re. So for this first webinar for Lead Generation Source, we're going to cover search engine optimization and why it's important for Facebook ads. So I'm going to cover both those topics, search engine optimization, as well as the importance for Facebook ads. So first of all, who am I? My name is Kim Christian. I've been online since the beginning of publicly available internet, which of course varied across the country. So mid to late 90s, I would say maybe 94, 95. I've built hundreds, maybe thousands of websites since 1999. That's when I officially got into building websites. But I do not know how to code. So I use a lot of different programs to help with that. Occasionally, if I need to learn something for coding, Google is my best friend, and YouTube. I'm Facebook ad certified from Learn. I am also Instagram certified from Learn. I hold multiple formal education degrees, so I have 2 master's degrees, and I'm finishing my PhD in business administration. And the point of me telling you that is not to be like, oh, I'm so smart, I have so much education. It's because I want you to understand that I do value education, especially formal education. It's just that I also acknowledge and realize that there is a gap between formal education and real life. And that's part of what brings me to the webinars. I feel like there is that gap and I can help fill part of it. So I also own multiple businesses, both online and in real life, IRL. Some of them are e-commerce, especially the ones online, obviously. And I do sell on multiple platforms. So Amazon, Etsy, my husband does eBay, not me as much. Shopify, I have used WooCommerce, lots of different ones. So OpenCart, a lot of them. And I also have a security company. My husband and I own a security company here locally that's not online. And we also have a resale store. We actually resell stuff that we got at auctions and lots of different things that we do. I also own a laser engraving company with my dad. So I have a lot of businesses and a lot of experience in business. I'm also an educator. I teach for an online school, and I have worked with students for like 5, 6, 7 years now. And something that I've learned over those years is that, again, that gap between formal education and real life. You try to teach them the concepts as they apply in real life while you're teaching them the theories and the general concepts, and it's very difficult in that environment. So there is a gap, and that's where, these webinars come in handy. And I know that there's some really great paid programs out there, but not everybody can afford the paid programs, and those are usually really intense on one topic. So when you have those opportunities, I do recommend them, and I will recommend good programs as they come up. But in the meantime, I hope to bring you enough information that you feel like, these free webinars I provide are of value. The goal of Lead Generation Source is basically to provide you with valuable information and action items each week. So you can determine which actions are best for your business. And while the name includes lead generation, the focus is for both traffic and leads, because you can't really get leads without traffic. So make sure you're part of the closed group for Lead Generation Source to get the most up-to-date resources, information, and participate in discussion related to the topic. We are leaving it closed because I've had open groups before, and those are kind of a nightmare. If you are a T-Rex Trex member, make sure you're part of the K&K group. I know the name's changing, but for now, let's just go with Trex and T-Rex. So, and that group will have webinars separate from the lead generation source, but I know there's a lot of them that have crossed over. So to make sure you know that there's 2 different groups, 2 different, we'll talk about a lot of the same things, but just make sure you sign up for both. So what is search engine optimization? First of all, let me say that the reason why I wanted to start with search engine optimization is twofold. One is that the relationship between search engine optimization and Facebook ads is not discussed right now, and I don't know why, but we'll cover that in a little bit more detail after we talk about what search engine optimization is. And the reason why I want to start with that for this year is that if we get started now and building this into our websites, by the busy time, by towards the end of the year, we should be able to start ranking for some of the keywords if we do everything right. And I'd really like to see that for especially people who are in e-commerce, because that's when, we make all of our money in e-commerce, mostly during, that last quarter. In fact, November and December are my busiest months, with December being my busiest month. So, I mean, I think that we can all benefit from search engine optimization to rank. If you're not interested in ranking, it's still important. If you're like, oh, I don't care if somebody finds me on page 1, I think you're weird, but you can still, this still benefits you for Facebook ads, and I'll explain why later. Let's talk about search engine optimization first. So what is search engine optimization? It's basically the terminology that defines the topic of any given page on a website. So this is different than what it used to be. So back, 1999, we used to call it, keyword stuffing. You'd have the same keywords for your entire website on every single page. And the point of that was that you wanted to rank your entire website. So if you had 50 pages, 50 different pages on your website, and so like a product page would be a page, or a blog post would be a page, and if you had 50 of those, each one of those would talk about the same stuff, and you couldn't, in order for you to rank, so if you're talking about weight loss, you couldn't get very specific on any one page if you wanted to rank for a keyword, and you'd be trying to rank for like 100 different keywords. And some sites were very good at it, and some sites, normal people, were not so good at it. It also made it so that if somebody was searching for something, they frequently would find a site that didn't relate at all. You'd be looking for weight loss, and all of a sudden there'd be you'd have a website come up about dog food. I mean, it didn't make any sense. So they changed that so that each page will rank, and your page needs to focus on the specific topic related to that page. So, for example, if you have, if you're Walmart, you have thousands and thousands of products. Each product page needs to focus on the product that's on that page, not products on other pages, just that page. And I'll show some examples of this, but let's look at the dictionary definition of keyword. A word or concept of great significance. So keep that in mind. That's the focal point, essentially. A word that acts as the key to a cipher or code. I mean, that's, people are putting a word or a phrase into here, and they want it to magically give them the answer to their problems. An informative word used in an information retrieval system to indicate the content of a document. And that's the one that's the most relevant for us, is that it's the word or phrase that is used to define the page. Okay? So how do keywords affect your site? When someone searches for a word or phrase, that's the keyword. Search engines like Google, Bing, and Yahoo match that keyword to websites based on their own algorithm, and they crawl websites constantly getting this information. So they have all these computers going out and gathering the information, defining it based on their algorithm. So no one knows the exact algorithm, including the creators of it. Like literally, Google's come out and said, look, we've got, thousands of people working on the algorithm. And they said they change it literally multiple times in an hour. So there's no, okay, if you get it figured out right now, in an hour, it's going to be different. But the nice thing is that there are some general consistencies. And the keyword, of course, is the focus of your website. So if you can define that keyword in the parameters that they've provided, you're generally, all the stuff that they change all the time isn't really going to affect you, at least not for very long. So ideally you choose this to match your content, but if you do not write the content correctly, the search engines do not know how to match you to the keyword. So let's say that you have, you're trying to sell red socks. If you don't talk about red socks on your page at all, how would Google ever know that you wanted to promote red socks, that you're trying to talk about red socks? So that's part of the keyword part of identifying the right keyword. So here's some example keywords. We're going to talk about general versus specific keywords, and you can do either one of these, but especially when you're getting started, the idea is that you focus more on specific keywords. But let's look at these. So you could have, weight loss, or you could have weight loss tea. Obviously if you're not selling weight loss tea, or if you're not talking about that, then you wouldn't put that, but you could have, those are the difference. So if you're selling weight loss tea, you could try to rank for weight loss, or you could try to rank for weight loss tea. And the point behind general versus specific is that if you do too general, you're going to have people, a lot more people search for weight loss than they do weight loss tea. And you might get a few people that will look for weight loss, and if you're ranking for that, they go, oh yeah, tea, that's a great idea. But for the most part, if you have tea, you want people who are looking for weight loss tea, because they're the ones that are going to be more likely to purchase your product or sign up for whatever information you're offering. Here's Tom Brady. Tom Brady, there's a lot of information about Tom Brady. So if you have a jersey, you would probably want to narrow that down to Tom Brady jersey. Easter candy. Now, if you're selling lots of different kind of Easter candy, that might be a great one. But, if you're selling or looking for Cadbury cream eggs, you'd want to focus that. I was looking at a couple of these. The Cadbury cream egg, I mean, it's only January. Why am I talking about that? It actually, most of these were in the trending topics on Google earlier today, so I thought that was interesting that Cadbury cream egg was on there. Donald Trump, the current president's always trending, so sometimes former presidents are trending too, but Donald Trump, and of course, Donald Trump, a lot of information about that. So you would say, where is Donald Trump from? Might be the topic of your page instead. Amazon. A lot of people just type in Amazon, mostly because they're trying to go to Amazon.com. But let's say if you're promoting a product that's, yeah, a lot more people look for Amazon. But if you're like, oh yeah, I have a document on how to sell on Amazon, you would want to focus on how to sell on Amazon rather than just generally Amazon, especially since most people typing Amazon are probably looking to go buy stuff on Amazon. So now shoes, if you're selling shoes, there are so many different kinds of shoes, men's shoes, women's shoes, kids shoes, swim shoes. There's so many different kinds of shoes. And so I actually typed in shoes, and this one came up, and it kind of cracked me up because I'm like, right, how many people type in shoes and they're looking for Gucci platform sneakers? And that was the picture of them. And I was like, man, those are pretty spiffy, right? Rainbow and then gold up top. So obviously somebody is wasting some money on some ads here, because that was an ad for shoes. And I'm betting, even though these are $1,000 sneakers, that they're going to spend too much money showing off shoes where people aren't buying it. What they would want to do is focus on Gucci platform sneakers, Gucci shoes, something like that, to be a little more specific so that they can target the people who are going to buy. And in future weeks, we can talk about this a little bit more. I just want to make sure you get the general idea of this. So how to determine your keywords. So you want to focus on one main keyword, the keyword that is most related to your item. So secondary keywords may be variations of the phrase or word. So like, for example, if you have a can wrap, you probably don't want to use koozie in it because that's branded, and that would be technically illegal if you said, oh, I'm selling a koozie, and you're not selling a koozie because you're selling a can wrap because it's not branded. But you can usually find a way to sneak that in as a secondary keyword by discussing the koozie concept and just give credit to the brand. Koozie has great can wraps and blah, 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 and, something. That's if you wanted to. You don't have to. And in fact, I encourage you, if you're first getting started, just focus on your one main keyword. So when you think about it, say, what is the specific product or offer? Then what is the general category? And this will help you kind of come up with combinations for a keyword. Then research to see if there's a similar keyword. Remember, this can be a phrase, so it's not necessarily just one word that fits better, that people specifically search with. Use the free tool, Google Keyword Planner, and then there's a paid tool that we use, or well, I use, that's called Webfire. And there's other tools out there. I really like Webfire because it's a great multi-tool. I'm going to expand on this just a little bit more right now. So here's an example. So this is a patriotic tie, right? If you look at the very general, it's a tie. I'm not going to try to rank this for tie because people who are typing in tie probably have no idea what they're looking for yet. So a little more specific might be patriotic tie, right? It's a patriotic tie. And even more specific might be patriotic flag tie. So while that sounds good, the problem with that is that I've now identified this based on I would call it a patriotic flag tie because that's terminology that I think. But I don't want the terminology that I think. I want the terminology that people are searching for. So this is where we're going to go over, and we're going to go over to Google Keyword Tool. Okay, so I tried to fit this in the screen as best I can. This is the Google Keyword Tool, and basically what you want to do is you want to go into Google AdWords, and if you haven't created an account, it's free. Sign up for the free account. The information you find in here may be limited if you haven't run any ads, or it just depends. They keep going back and forth on it. I ran some ads, so it started giving me some more information, but Before I ran ads, it wasn't giving me hardly anything. So yours may look different. That would be the ultimate thing. So once you get in there, you want to go into, you want to find the Google Keyword Planner, and they keep changing the layout of it, so you might need to click around. But get to the Google, the Keyword Planner, and you can type in the word. So we did that here, patriotic flag tie, and then we ran it for ideas, right? And so here's the patriotic flag tie. They show no tracked monthly searches, which means that's probably not something I want to try to rank for. That's probably not what I want my keyword to be. And now that doesn't mean that nobody's searching for that. It just means it's not one that they've noticed a significant amount of traffic. And even here, when you look at patriotic ties, American flag tie, you see these average monthly searches, and you go, "Wait, 480? That's not very high." Well, the thing is that it's kind of not really a real number. It's more like a comparison number. So you can say, well, if it was between patriotic ties and American flag tie, obviously American flag tie has almost double the amount of searches. So I would probably want to go with something like American flag tie, right? Or here's, we don't do bow tie because that's not what it is. Patriotic neckties, they have patriotic neckties. And then, American flag necktie. So, you might pick a couple of these, pick ones that even at 90 searches a month, think about that. If you have 90 searches a month, but you're ranking on page 1, I mean, you're going to be getting some people clicking on there. I mean, you need to be on page 1 to really get those clicks to make this worthwhile, but we'll talk about how to get there over the next couple weeks. So here we go. I'm going to tell you this. So the competition and the suggested bid have nothing to do with search engine optimization and everything to do with the ads. So if you were going to run an ad for American flag tie, the competition, according to Google, it says that it's high, and their suggested bid per click is $1.72. Now, $1.72 doesn't maybe sound like a lot to you, except that keep in mind that not every click translates into a sale. So you may, depending on your conversion rate, you may have to get 10, 15 clicks before you start to see a sale. So now you're spending quite a bit of money before you get that sale. So if you're ranking naturally and not having to pay this amount, you're going to save a lot of money versus if you were advertising for it. So just something to keep in mind. And that's also why you want to make sure that the keyword you pick, if you're going to advertise, you don't want to be advertising for shoes. I mean, I know those are $900 shoes, but man, I mean, you're going to spend $900 before somebody actually goes and buys those. People are going to be clicking on them because they're cool and they want to see them, but they're not going to, you're going to be paying for people to click and to be looky-loos. So I would not personally go for a general keyword like that. I mean, you have to test a little and play with it if you decide to do Google ads, and we'll talk about Google ads way down the line. For now, let's focus on search engine optimization. So let's go back to the PowerPoint real quick. Okay, so we have no track searches for patriotic flag tie. So what is a complementary phrase, which is a keyword that has searches? We saw American flag tie or American flag necktie. Now, even though you and I are like, oh yeah, that's American flag tie, American flag necktie, you want to double check that, because just because you think something should match does not mean that Google or Bing or Yahoo agree with you. So what I always do is, once I've figured out, I'm like, okay, well, I think that these work, I would do a search for them. And I actually did when I did this earlier. I did American flag tie right here, right? So, and they came up with ties that are, related to that. So I'm like, okay, well, these are going to be, that would be a good terminology then, American flag tie. And or necktie, whichever one, whichever one. We had American flag tie had 880 searches, so that is one way that I would do that with the Google Keyword Planner. So we've double checked that, and we say, okay, either one of these would work, but how do we figure out which one would be? And that's where there's kind of an advanced hack on this. So I also made a comment here again, you do not need to have, you don't have to have, need to have secondary keywords. So once you find your main keyword, you're ready to start on your on-page optimization. So one of the things that, since we know we have two of them here, and one's 90 versus 880, right? So here's an advanced hack that we could do, and that is that we could use Webfire to determine which keyword is the optimal one, if one of them is optimal, and easiest to rank. So let me show you a quick demo of that. go here. And if you're interested in Webfire, don't purchase through here because it's like $3,000 a year through here. And I have a special price. It's like $1,000 a year instead. Or they do have a monthly option that's pretty cheap, but it's like a third of the price if you purchase through the negotiated price that I have with them. And I'll have some information on that in, in if you're interested, contact me, and I'll also have information on that later on. So eventually I'll log in. And this is based, it's a web-based, but it also has to have the connection to the computer. So it's not something you can do on a tablet. But you can go in here and you go to the keyword tool, and we're actually going to do, what did we say they were? American flag tie versus American flag necktie, right? So I'm going to say American flag tie, American flag necktie. And we're just going to look at these two. We can do, I'll show you another thing that we can do here in just a second, but we're just going to look at these two. And these actually have different search terms, but you can still see, look at that one. That one says 3,600. This one says 480. So now both of these are saying that they're going to be more difficult to rank for. So this may be one that you don't, if you have multiple products, you may not want to focus on this one first if you're going to be dedicating a bunch of resources to search engine optimization. But if this was one that you wanted to do, well, for ranking, I should say, you still need to follow these rules for fine tuning for search engine optimization for Facebook. And like, again, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But this score basically tells you that these are difficult to rank for. So another thing that you can do on here is that you can put in just one keyword, much like the Google Keyword Planner, and say we put in American flag tie. We're going to run it, and it's going to come up with 50 additional words that are related to it. Now, they're not always related to it. I don't know why. Like American flag leggings. Yes, that's, I guess, somewhat related, but if you don't have that, it doesn't really make any sense, right? But it'll go through and it'll check, it'll score each of these. And it sometimes, like this one's not too bad. Patriotic ties is actually not that bad, 1900. And where did it go here? And it's 74.17. That's not horrible because, even though under 80, they start to say, oh, okay, it's hard. 74 and 80 is not that much different. And they're saying here that it's three of the front page ones have title tags, 3 have description in the description, and 4 have the headings. So you could do, if you get into this, you can do some major analysis, and you could do some competition with that. And we'll talk about this in more detail for people who decide that they like Webfire. We'll have some Webfire trainings on that and stuff. But you can go through here, like, so American flag swimsuit, look at that one. 91.39. I mean, that's pretty much a guarantee you can get on page 1 with 12,100. So if you sell that, that might be something you'd be interested in. But again, patriotic neckties has 480, and that one looks like it's pretty good to rank for. If you had American bow ties, that one looks like you could really get on page 1 easy. So now this isn't, just running it through this is not a guarantee you're going to get on page 1. I have done this before, and it's told me 100, and I can't get on page 1 without doing a little bit more work. And that was because there's more to it than just the analysis compared to here. So, and I'll talk more about that in the future, but this is just to give you an idea of some things that you can do that are a little more advanced. Again, you can easily do this and rank regardless of what this is. So if you're like, oh, hey, I have these products, there's nothing I can do about it, then just focus on making sure you pick a good keyword, and then you can even look at it yourself. If all of page 1 is dominated by massive Macy's and Sears, and if all of those are dominating on page 1, it might be a little bit harder to rank for. And so you just know that and know it's going to take you a little bit longer, and you got to do a little bit more work on your backlinks, which we'll talk about. So, okay, we've done that. Let's go on to the next page. So on-site optimization, we've identified our keyword. So the next step is the on-site optimization. And this is your page. This is your actual page. And what it is that the on-site optimization essentially tells search engines what your page is about. But it's also important for the viewer experience. So Google has basically come out and said, look, if you start doing things to manipulate your on-page so that we see you, so like if you do like every other word or every other phrase or every other sentence has the word American patriotic ties or whatever we decided it was, then they're going to start to penalize you for that instead. So they want you to write naturally, but they also want you to write so that you're focused on the topic, and the topic should be the keyword. So make sure that your keywords are properly identified. Of course, we just covered how to do that, but this is critical for both search ranking and for the user experience, because if you start talking about, if you're selling socks and you start talking about shoes and some great shoes that go with them, people are going to get confused and they're not going to keep going. So if it's a bad user experience, they don't stay on your page anyway. You'll never rank, you'll never have people buying stuff, lower the conversion, etc. So you want to focus on one main keyword or topic, and do not try to optimize one page for multiple keywords. Now, this will happen naturally though. So, you want to make sure that your keyword is in there for 1 to 4% of the content. And I've got some tools down here I talk about that for. But, oh, excuse me. So your main keyword should show up in your page 1 to 4% of the content. And if you have WordPress, we'll talk about this real quick. If you have WordPress, you can install Yoast SEO. It's the free version to it'll help you identify like your writing, make sure that it's writing that within a range that like I write really academic. So I actually use Yoast SEO a lot, even though I don't like they have this when you do a search, it shows up with Yoast SEO all over it, and I hate that because it puts it in your meta tags, it adds it onto all of your information. I hate that. I'm like, it just feels like it, spams up my brand, and I'm like, ugh. But it's a really good tool, and so if I'm writing at PhD level, APA formatting, PhD level, I tend to write higher than most people can read, because that's just what I've been trained to do for so long. And so I need that to remind me of, hey, don't be using these words, don't be doing that. And they want you to write within a specific range to reach more people and let it be easy for people to read. So the Yoast SEO plugin is really good, but it also tell you the percentage. And I don't know that they necessarily agree with the 1 to 4%, but that's what Webfire suggests. And if Webfire suggests it, it's definitely something you want to stick with. And I've tested that before. 1 to 4% does seem to be a really good. If you get much more than 4%, you risk being penalized. And then, under 1%, you risk not defining your topic well enough. So 1 to 4% to have that specific keyword, and then you can alternate it. So if you need to use, American flag ties, you could interchange that with patriotic flag ties, and then you may end up ranking for both. But you're obviously still going to focus on that 1 to 4% for your main keyword. Videos. You need to create a video. It doesn't matter if it's, high quality is not critical, but you have to have some sort of video on there. There's two things. One is that it helps with search engine optimization, because you can put it on YouTube and have the link back. And it also helps with the viewer experience. Make sure you host all of your videos on a different platform. YouTube is ideal. Google owns YouTube, and Google loves it when you embed YouTube videos on your page. So, when you have your video, we're not going to cover how to make a video here right now, but you have a video, you stick it into YouTube, you link it back, you put the link back, and you embed it on your page. So you've got your SEO going on, and of course you're helping with the viewer experience. You will need to fine tune your videos as you go, but just getting any video up is better than no video. Pictures. Make sure you include supplementary pictures. If you have a product, especially if it's e-commerce, you probably 5 to 7 pictures of a product is a good idea. And this doesn't always happen. I sell on Amazon, and I have plenty of listings that sell, and I have one picture. And that is not optimal, but man, taking pictures of products is kind of a pain. So, you do the best you can with what you got, but, ideally 5 to 7 pictures, different angles, make sure they're high quality, but, you need to minimize that. They need to be high quality, but not really heavy pictures. And if you can, host them offsite. So that's kind of a little more advanced, but that's just something to think about when you're doing that, is that if you have really high, graphic intensive pictures on your website, it's going to slow down your loading, which affects, your rankings and affects everything else. So while you want to have pictures, you need to figure out a way to kind of like balance that. And there are tools that can help with that, and we'll talk about those later time. So here's a pro tip though, rename your images. So when you take a picture and it says 05673425 blah 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 .jpg, you want to probably rename that to, American flag tie.jpg or whatever, so that it matches, you want your keyword in there as much as possible. You don't want to duplicate it though. So if you have 4 images, you might want, American flag tie 1, American flag tie 2, etc. So you want to make sure that you do include your keywords in your images. They can't, the search engines cannot read the images, so they don't know what's on your image. So they rely on the data that you put in there, and the title is the #1 data information. So that's just something to, a little pro tip there to help you rank. So flow, make sure the page is easy on the eyes. Now this doesn't really count for search engine optimization as much as it does for user experience, because if the user doesn't have a good experience, they're not going to stay on your page, they're not going to convert, etc. So the flow, even though it's not quite search engine optimization, it is about on-site optimization. So that way you make sure that you have the higher conversions, people can read stuff, they have a good user experience, they stay on your page longer, they help with your ratings essentially. So Google has announced multiple times that they focus on content. What does this mean? It means that more is good as long as it helps the viewer. We joke about this all the time, because if you're doing content, then you would think that, okay, who cares how long it is, but how do you focus your keyword? I mean, you know, optimally you want like 500, 600 words, but more and more people are reporting that there needs to be a minimum of 1,000 words to really be able to rank. And if you look at the sites, most of the sites that are ranking for a lot of the keywords, not necessarily in e-commerce, but for content-based sites, they're like 1,000, 1,500 words. And some of them, there's one strategy where you do 3,000 words and you just kind of let it sit there, build some links, have some links going out, build some links going in. And over time, you do rank because you've got a lot of information, and theoretically, people are going to your page, they're reading it, they're staying on your page longer, they're clicking around your site, so there's a strategy with more content, but it's a long, it's kind of like the long con, you're going to have to put a lot of work into it for the reward, but it would be worth it if you can. So again, and this does apply to e-commerce, because if you go into e-commerce, it's not very common that you're going to see something rank on page 1 naturally. There's plenty of them that are, sponsored ads, but you're not going to have something on page 1 that ranks naturally with only 3 sentences of content. Oh, here's my product, it's on sale, buy it now. You're going to need to have more, so the long sales form does tend to be preferred by consumers, and it's better for search engine optimization. Okay, so let me show you quickly a little bit of the Yoast SEO, and then the Webfire keyword density real quick, just so you get an idea of those. So we'll go up here, if I can get in real quick. We just moved our hosting on this, so sometimes I have a problem getting in. And like I said, my security company, even though we do have a website, I don't do a whole lot with it because it's not an online, it's not, there's just, you can't really do online security. You can have information on it, but that's more for supporting customers after you have them. All right, let's see here. So let me go to, oh, it was a post that I did. Post. Okay. I mean, each one of these is probably optimized or whatever, but I wanted to show you one that had a little bit more. Here's one, Smith Security, that I did. I actually I rank every now and again. I'll rank on page 1 for this, but Smith Security is not specific enough. It would have to, because Dallas Fort Worth, but there is Smith Security here locally, and I try not to bash them too much in here, but they do have some fine print. So anyway, so I went through here, and again, I'm ranking on page 1 and 2 sometimes for this. I don't keep up with it, so, but this is 681 words in here, and what it does, the Yoast SEO plugin does is that you put in your keywords. So you say my focus keyword is Smith Security, so you choose it, and then it'll tell you different things that you can improve on. So like this one, readability. I have readability issues, and of course they've improved this since I wrote this, so there's some things that I need to change, but I can change the readability, and that will help people stay on the page longer and it may or may not contribute to optimization, not important. But here, these are important. So improvements, no outbound links. You need to have outbound links. So they will go through and they'll tell you exactly what you need to do. Keyword density, 1.4%. That's between the 1 and the 4%. So that's fine. And again, I don't know that they emphasize the 1%, but you should at least aim for a minimum of 1%. Then here you go, it goes through and tells you all the different things. And if these aren't there, they will tell you to do it. It'll be like here where it says do these, and you can just go in and you can adjust it. And once you do that, get your content up to 1,000, 1,500 words, and you do that and you have it fine-tuned and you optimize your page as much as you want and have it look pretty and everything, you're probably going to do really well with converting, because if you've done everything right, and then you'll start ranking ideally on page 1 after a few months. Again, it's going to be easier if you have less competition. That's where Webfire comes in handy. But this is a great free WordPress plugin that it really does help with making sure that you're writing good content. And like I said, I've tested it and I've been able to rank, not necessarily on page 1 for everything. I have ranked on page 1 for some lower traffic keywords that are really easy to rank for, but this one was a higher competition and it's national competition, so it's not going to be as easy to rank for. And I got up to like 26 pretty quick, and then I lost it after we switched some stuff around, and I didn't ever really build it back up. Okay, I don't think I have any backlinks coming here. No video. We'll need to have a video. Need to have a video, have more pictures. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff I changed about this, but this was just something that when I was first kind of dabbling with our site, I just had to get something up. So that's that one. Let me show you. So now if I wanted to, if I didn't have Yoast, or if I had, like a Shopify site or something, I could go in here and let's see. Oh, actually, I just take this page. That's what I do. And let's go back into Webfire, and we're going to go to, oh no, we're going to go to SEO and keywords, and we're going to go to keyword density. So you can enter, and this doesn't have to, it says yoursite.com, but you would want the exact page that you're looking at. So we're going to do that, and we're going to say, limit word combinations to X words. So this is kind of interesting too. You can do this with your competition, by the way. So you could see what they're doing, what words that they are similar, and you can say, okay, what kind of keyword density do they have, stuff like that. I mean, there's other keyword competition stuff in here that you can do as well. But so look at that, Smith Security, Security Solutions, RE Security, RE Security Solutions. So that's good, since that's my business name. That that's at that between that 1 and 4%. And then here's some other ones that they show up in here, that percentage wise. So you can go through and say, oh, I don't think I want to have that as high. Like if I didn't want to focus on security solutions, which is part of my business name, so I don't know how I could avoid that. But I could go back in and say, oh, wait, I need to go and minimize that if I didn't want that to be there. So this one, 1.98%, I might even want to put that a little bit higher, especially when I only have 681 words. But I think more content would be better instead, keeping that above that 1%. But that's exactly why, I rank better. And again, this was not one that was easy. If I go back into my keyword tool, let's see, it might be easy. I can't remember. As long as the app loads. So 1,300, yeah, 85. So it's not like it's 100% like this one, Smith Security System. Like if I want, but that one only has 140. So if I wanted to do it quick and I didn't mind 140, I would do that. Or maybe maybe I do 2 articles, do one on this one on that one. So there's a lot of different things you can do. That's why I like Webfire. But like I said, if you're looking for free, Yoast SEO is a very good resource for WordPress. So if you're building your website and you're working with WordPress, this Yoast SEO is definitely a must-have. Like I said, the only pitfall that I don't like is that it attaches. I don't know if the paid version removes that or not, but the free version is plenty powerful, and it's just that little nuance of when somebody searches for you, they're going to see that you use Yoast SEO. All right, so let's go back to here. Okay, so we've talked about on-site optimization. Let's talk a little bit about off-site optimization. So basically, off-site optimization is links back to your site. That's the most common off-site optimization. There are other things that you can do, but for the most part, it's all backlinks to your site. So social media presence with appropriate links back to your site are critical. These are all controlled by you, so it kind of seems like a no-brainer to do it. And all of the search engines now kind of expect a social media presence. So if you don't have a social media presence, it doesn't mean you have to be active on it all the time or anything. You obviously need to keep them active and alive, but I mean that means, once a month activity if you can't do anything else. So Facebook page, even if you do not want to run ads, you need a page that links back to your site. Schedule a post to go out once a month if you have to. I mean, ideally you do more because there's a lot of potential with Facebook, but if that's not your cup of tea, then just make sure you at least have a Facebook page. Twitter account. Yes, Twitter is still alive and well, and Google likes the links back. I remember it was a really big deal quite a few years ago when Google announced that they were going to actually start, you know, documenting, they were going to put it in their archives, the Twitter stuff. So now Twitter forever is now, if you have a link ever, it's going there, they look at that as, oh hey, yeah, that's in our, for a long time they ignored Twitter. They're like, yeah, we don't care about you, you're too little. 180 characters, whatever it is, they're like, no, 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 not enough. Somebody wore them down and Google said, okay, Twitter counts now. Pinterest. You're like, what? I mean, obviously if you're in e-commerce, that's great. Pinterest makes sense, but what if you're not in e-commerce? Well, Pinterest pins actually count as social media credit, and you can include backlinks. So when you pin something, you can go back in there and you can make sure that you fine tune keywords. You can do a lot of stuff with Pinterest to help you rank. And just by doing that one thing, you may never get any activity off Pinterest. That's not even the point of it. In this case, the point is, which by the way, I will tell you that I have a Shopify store, and there's only a couple of platforms where you can do this, but it integrates with Pinterest so that it has a buyable pin, so somebody could click on it and still buy from your site through Pinterest. I've had multiple purchases from Pinterest to my Shopify store. Now, if you don't have Shopify, or I think it's BigCommerce or something, so like if you have WooCommerce or you have OpenCart, or you're on Etsy or whatever, the whole point is that the pin will also help them find you, so they can still click through to your page. So you want to make sure that link is accurate and that the buy button's on that page. And then of course you want to pin as many images as you can, but at least one per page that you can identify with the keyword and everything. Instagram, you only get one link back from your profile, so it may want to go back to your main site if you have like a specific product or offer, like if you're for lead generation, if you're have your, okay, here, get this 5 report or whatever, you want to make that your link, obviously, because that's where you want people to go. But if if you have an e-commerce store, you may just want to go back to your main domain, or if you have some sort of page that has all of the images, or like your categories listed out or something like that. So you can pick where you think that it would be best for, but just getting that link back is good from Instagram. You may not get a lot of traffic from it, but you'll get some social media cred from it. LinkedIn. Now, not everybody's willing to attach their face and their name to their brand or website, but if you are, you should definitely consider including a link to your, link in your LinkedIn profile back to your page. And if you have multiple sites like many of us do, it's okay. I mean, I think you have to have one main one, but you can decide if this is like your focus site, then you definitely want that to be. But if not, then, put it in your bio somewhere that, oh, hey, I have these other websites as well, and put those links in there. I mean, that link will show up and be credit back. There are other things you can do in LinkedIn, which we'll talk about another time, to help you build up some traffic and some visibility if you're doing lead generation, but we'll talk about that another time. YouTube. Again, we've already talked about that with the videos, but this should come with each of your videos, but this is such a powerful link when you embed the video on your page. So make sure you embed the video, but you also include a link on the YouTube site so that if people are on YouTube, which is the second largest search engine, I believe, that they will they can find that link and get more information. Like I said, Google gives bonus points for YouTube, so make sure you do that. Google Plus is another option. It's a little more complicated, so I'm not going to go into a lot of depth, but if it's something you're willing to, add on right now, or at least eventually, then Google Plus is also one that you should consider. So offsite optimization is not as critical for structured data, such as schema, and that's the part that's important for Facebook. So if your only purpose for search engine optimization at this point, and you've been sitting here going, Kim, when are you going to talk about Facebook? Here it is. So if you're only concerned about Facebook's algorithm, you can skip the offsite optimization. On-site optimization, still critical, but you could theoretically skip the offsite optimization. I still think you're crazy if you don't want to try to rank for page 1, but again, you do have limited time for the most part. So if you need to focus your resources and your time, focus on your on-site optimization, and we'll talk a little bit more about that now. So why does search engine optimization matter for Facebook? In the May 2017 Facebook pixel change, Facebook announced the use of schema data as an influence on the algorithm. So schema data, which comes from schema.org, is microdata on your page, and it comes from the information on your site. So some sites, you have to install a tool, and I specifically mention this because the first time I ran this one, I did it live and I went to test it on the T-Rex site, Trek site, and there's no schema data on it. And I'll show that in a second. But, you know, so you may have to install a tool so the schema data shows up. And that is the part where it just defines kind of like what each section is. So sometimes it's automatically on there. So like if you have Shopify, Shopify automatically exports data to schema, which then translates over to Facebook pixel. So as long as you look to see what's there, you can kind of see what Facebook is seeing. So let me kind of show you this real quick. So here, we looked at this one, right? Patriotic gifts. So let's say that if I was running traffic to the site, I would want to look here at the Facebook pixel helper, and they show microdata, right? So this is what you'll see when you first comes up. And so you click this microdata, and you can see they have 3 here: schema.org, data layer, and open graph. Now, obviously, since this is Facebook pixel helper, all of these probably contribute to it. But in the May update, they specifically said schema.org data. And look at this. It's not tracking it at all. So that means that it's not receiving any information from here. Now look at what it's getting from Open Graph is, okay, title, description, nothing, image, oh, look, here's the image, and look at that, shirt underscore 81417.png. That is not helpful for me saying patriotic ties. So that's something that I would want to adjust, right? So it tells the store name, alltimefinds.com, and that's it. And I'll be honest, there's not much information on here. This is part of the pre-built stores. So literally none of this information is part of the data going out to Facebook. So Facebook has no idea based on this that it knows patriotic gifts. That's all it knows. And that's based on the title. And that's based on the title. So obviously you want to make sure that you specify your keyword. I mean, my keyword's not even in here, right? So and then they have the meta information, says title, patriotic gifts. That's it. Well, now when you look at another site, let's go back here. See what this one says. So I go in here and I go to, what is going on? Oh, I have 2 pixels on here. That's interesting. I don't even have the metadata showing on this one. Okay, let's try a different one. So I haven't really been using this site very much lately. Just go in and find a product real quick. We'll see what they say. So now this was not, we didn't fine tune this. We just kind of brought in this information. It's a store where we resell stuff, resell products from suppliers. And let's see here. So we're going to come in here, and this one has the microdata right here. And look, right here it has the schema.org. So I can say show, and it'll show all of the information. And basically all it did was take in the title, and it put the title in here, it put everything in here, and it's gonna dominate. So keep in mind, just like when we're reading, the algorithm is going to read the same thing. So the stuff at the front is more important to it than the stuff at the end. So you're going to want to put the information at the front. This is the same thing with search engine optimization in general. You want to put your keywords, kind of your keyword, towards the front so everybody knows, oh, that's what it's about. You have your title, you have it basically in your first sentence. So what we should have is, you know, cloud fondant cookie cutters, whatever we decide that is up here. And then we would say these adorable cloud fondant cookie cutters, whatever the keyword is, should be right here as well. So of course, we didn't go through and fine tune these for search engine optimization when we did this. We just did it to get started and test. So that's how you check though to see what it's saying. And so you've got your microdata. That was the schema. Let's see what we have if they show open graph. Same thing, it's just taking the information from there. So sometimes this will translate automatically. If it doesn't, you're going to have to find a tool to go on it. If you're looking at a tool for WordPress, there are a couple of free ones, but I'm going to be honest, Webfire has it as well. So they have in here where you can go in for any type of website, whether it's WordPress or anything else, you can create a schema and it'll give you the code and you can put it on your site. Or if you're using WordPress, they have a plugin. And I'll cover, if you guys are interested in that, we can cover that. I just want to let you know that that is there. If you have Webfire, definitely use that one. The free ones, I found a couple of free WordPress plugins, but they didn't look like they're being updated or supported, and I don't know how well they're going to integrate with the Facebook um, interface. So I'm not really interested in testing that because I have Webfire. So if that's something you want to play with, go ahead, but you do need to make sure that that schema data is showing up. You want that microdata and you want that schema data to show up. So of course it's not showing up for Webfire because this one's probably not tracked. So again, make sure that this doesn't have it blocked off. And of course the open graph data probably goes through because it's part of it, but there's not enough information here. So you want to make sure that you've got that information. That's going to help you make sure that Facebook knows what, and I'll talk right there. So no one's really talking about this, but what it means is that by saying, hey, we're going to be using the schema data, what they're saying is, look, we can't really read the page. Obviously, they're going to need some sort of tool that they've decided gives them the data. And the schema.org site collects the data, puts it in a format, and they've obviously said, okay, we're going to take that format, put it into our algorithm. So you need to have the schema on there because that's exactly what they said in their May 2007 update is we're going to be using schema data. So your landing page where you're sending your visitors, where that link back is, affects and influences who and how Facebook shows your ads to. So if your landing page is chaos or minimal, Facebook may not know the best audience. So remember, Facebook works off of interests and similarities. So we rely on the algorithm to help identify the right people. So if we're not giving any information, how can we expect Facebook to find the right people? I mean, it's literally going to be, they're just going to start throwing darts out, right? So Facebook's going to attempt to match what it thinks your page is about to people most likely to take the specified action you defined in your ad campaign objective. If your page is not clearly defined, Facebook may show your ad to the wrong audience. So consider this example. So you build your ads to target people passionate about the product. Let's talk about the patriotic tie. So we want people passionate about patriotism. You build your page to emphasize 50% off, which we did, but Facebook doesn't know that. But schema.org picks up the discount emphasis, reports that back to Facebook. So how does Facebook relate that? We don't know for sure, but consider this: discounts, sales, coupons, etc. These are all interests in Facebook. So just because you've targeted people passionate about the product and you're thinking that they're going to purchase, if you want to target people who are willing to pay more, but you've emphasized your page to be 50% off, Facebook may go, well, we're going to show it to people who are bargain shoppers that are patriotic. We don't know. We don't know how it works, but we do know that Facebook has said your landing page now influences how we're going to be showing your ads. So it's important that your landing page is consistent with your marketing strategy. So in the case of the T-Rex site, Facebook did not have clear information. Oh, sorry about that. So in the case of the T-Rex Trek site, Facebook does not have clear information via schema that the landing page is even a sales page. It doesn't even know that. It just says, okay, well, it's about patriotic gifts. So you've told me you want conversions and you want people to buy, but I don't even know what price that's at, right? Because Facebook doesn't know. It's not in the data. We're not telling it. So now you're targeting people passionate. You're targeting passionate people who like the topic, but Facebook might not be showing it to buyers because it doesn't know you're really selling anything. And even if you select purchases for conversions, that's still really broad. I mean, think about that. You say, okay, well, I want to target buyers and they're passionate. Theoretically, you're targeting people who are who knows? I mean, because if Facebook knows that people are going to be more likely to these people purchase $25 items and these people purchase $125 items, if you're selling a $25 item and it says, I don't know what price it is, let's just target the people, everybody. It could take you a lot longer before you find that audience. So the whole point of this is that if you use search engine optimization correctly on your page, make sure schema.org is finding that your Facebook ads should be more successful, because Facebook will now match your ads to the right people because it knows what the page is about. It says, oh, hey, it's about this. These are people that are interested in this. Their algorithm matches it up, does its little magic, and says, boom, we've got some matches here. So that's why it's extremely important that you get the right data on your page. And, here's another little trick to consider is that Schema cannot read, just like, Google can't, Bing can't, they cannot read the picture. They don't look at the picture and go, oh, that's a picture about a cake. It doesn't know that. It knows what you tell it. So if you tell it a keyword, if you tell it it's a shirt and it's really a tie, it's going to think it's a shirt. If you tell it these things, then Schema is going to report that. So what you do is if you're like, oh, hey, I want to make sure, I know that it converts better if there's a sale. Most places do. So instead of emphasizing the sale to avoid, instead of typing sale, put it as an image on your page. No, it can't read it, and then you just tell it whatever you want. So that's kind of like a little sneaky way of getting the conversion on there without screwing up the whole, I want to find the right buyers. You could test that a little bit, split test one page versus the other. You want to do that anyway. But that's one way to kind of get around that if you're having problems with that. If you're not, if you have something that's working, don't change anything. Just keep doing it. So, okay, so that's the general gist of what Facebook has said. And I'm seeing evidence of this with, a lot of people are saying, oh man, my ads aren't working, my ads aren't working. And I'm going, while your landing page looks great for conversions, it kind of sucks for search engine optimization. And for some reason, Facebook has now, with adding on the schema, they basically just put their 2 thumbs up for search engine optimization and said, look, if your page matches what everybody's been saying they want on there consistently, then we'll give you credit. So how do you know if your landing page is right or not? Ultimately you need to test. Keep in mind that all marketing needs congruency, so make sure you're consistent through your ad image, ad copy, landing page images, and landing page copy. Does your potential customer understand what they're purchasing? If you didn't know anything about your product and you landed on your page, which you may have to have a friend test this, would they understand what they're buying? And with the T-Rex truck store, we talk about this a lot, that it does get a little confusing. When you've got a shirt and a mug and a one thing, that's why you want to have one core product and offer per page. And then, of course, we emphasize the upsells and the downsells, etc. Use the Facebook Pixel Helper to see what Facebook sees. That's real simple. That's a real simple way to find out if Facebook knows what your page is about. Use that Facebook Pixel Helper and see that microdata. So, that's what I've got for now. We've run pretty long on this with the revisions. I hope that it was informational. Your to-do tasks are to, fine-tune your keywords, fix your pages if you need to, check to make sure that that schema.org stuff is working. If not, at least make sure the Open Graph is on there, because obviously they're pulling data from either one of those. But I do recommend, looking at options for schema.org. If you have WordPress, you might want to look at the free WordPress plugin, but good luck. If you have a T-Rex person, good luck with that, because you could crash the site. I am not testing that. I will test Webfire. I'm not going to test the other free ones that don't look like they're being supported. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. And if I do encourage you, I'm going to go ahead and post the link to the video in both of the groups. And I do encourage that you, either group you're in, please, have the questions. I'll talk more. I'm going to figure out more for the T-Rex truck site for Monday, but I want to make sure that you at least get this information and get started. And I'll figure out some resources for, I'll show you guys a little bit more about the schema specific to T-Rex on Monday. So again, I hope this is helpful, and please be sure to put your questions in here so that way we can fine tune next week, and I'll expand a little bit more on some of these concepts. Thanks. Have a great night.